Hello, and welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so happy you are listening to my podcast this week. This is a place where I talk about health, holistic nutrition, wellness, and biohacking, and specifically women's health. I know most of my listeners are female, which I really appreciate. And slowly but surely, my content is moving towards being female focused only. And so, although men can still obviously listen, but I think it is important to talk about female biohacking because it's honestly not really talked about that much. So, that is kind of where I'm at today. I actually just posted this recently on Instagram. And if you want it, message me and I'll send it to you. I found this chart. Oh my gosh, I'm going to ramble here, but I found this chart called the healing web. If you are by a computer right now, seriously type in the healing web. I'm doing it right now. If you are like remotely into holistic health and healing in alternative ways, you need to go look at this. This is the craziest thing I have ever seen. I am not kidding. It blows my mind. I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, so the healing web is basically a chart that talks about the most common health issues that we see in society today, what causes them, and how to heal them from a holistic standpoint and a allopathic standpoint, which is like Western standpoint, Western medicine. This chart is wild. I can't even explain it to you unless you see it. But essentially, in the middle is like an index of all of the things that people deal with. So, for example, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, cold, flu, diabetes, allergies, eczema, digestion. I guess I'll just read them all. Arthritis, thyroid, candida, depression, anxiety, addiction, ADHD, autism, gender, AIDS, Lyme disease, different injuries, obesity, cosmetic issues, genetic issues, radiation, bones, dental, vision, pregnancy, and death. So when I tell you that this is the wildest thing I've ever seen, I'm not kidding. I found out about this chart through TikTok because I saw someone talk about it. And I was like, how on earth does this exist? And I don't know. And then I just went down a rabbit hole. So essentially, the person who created this chart, he had this download. He has a video about how he came to figure this out. And you can find the video on his website. The website for this is called greatawakeningreport.com. I will link it in the show notes. And I will actually link to the poster I bought of this because I want it in my office. But essentially, like I was saying, all of the health issues that most people have are down the center. And then it talks about all of the different ways that you could heal. And when I say like all, I mean like I'm looking at this and I don't know what is not mentioned. Let me just like read some of the things that are mentioned on the holistic medicine side, okay? And it's all connected through like different lines of like, depending on your health issue, this heals it. So let me just read some of the words that are like popping out to me. So it's talking about like sound healing, energy healing, electric medicine, oxygen therapy, anti-aging, light therapy, detoxing, sleep, psychology, prevention, exercise, natural supplements, physical therapy, essential oils, biohacking is on here, diet, childbirth, ascension, and then like cannabis. It talks about bentonite clay, cannot talk, kava, sweating, saunas, maca, iodine, aloe vera, like exposure therapy. Guys, I can't even explain this to you. Go download this right now. Seriously, go download this right now. Print it off, put it in your house, buy the poster, buy the t-shirt. I don't know this person. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. I just think that this is one of the best things I've ever seen. So that's everything that's like on the right? It's like, hey, this is how you heal. And then on the left, it's like, okay, this is what big pharma and Western medicine has kind of told us. So let me read to you some of the things that come up on this side as causes and also just different ways of healing. So it talks about surgery, EMFs, the hospitals, carcinogens, standard American diet, CBWs, which stands for chemical biological weapons. Like there's so much on here. I can't wait to get the big poster because I really feel like I can't see it as well as I'd like to see it like larger. Different side effects, flu shot, vaccines, obviously, psychiatry, antibiotics, pharmaceuticals, acetaminophen, insulin, metal poisoning, statins, surgery, artificial coloring, like monocrops, herbicides, nitrogen fertilizers. Like I've never ever seen something that has put everything into one chart before. Like I've never ever seen anything like this. So anyway, I suggest that if you're dealing with any of the health issues that I mentioned, which majority of people are, and you're really trying to understand how to heal and why you might be dealing with it and what society is telling you versus maybe how you want to heal from it, I would download this and start digging. As biohackers do. That's exactly what I would do. I would also go to the main website for it and I would watch the YouTube, or I guess that's not on YouTube because it's not allowed. I would watch the video on it. I'm also actually just going to put it right in the show notes because I think people need to find it. Let me see. I think it's on Rumble. And again, for anyone listening, that's called the Healing Web. Search for it, go find it. I think it's very, very helpful. And I'm going to definitely create content around it and educate people on it as well. This week, the podcast episode is with Dr. Mike. He is a medical director and a physician, and he's helped a lot of people with chronic pain and mental health conditions. He's also a biohacker. We talk about Adderall. We talk about mental health. We talk about productivity. So it's a really helpful, definitely helpful episode for anybody who's kind of dealing with some of those productivity struggles that we all have at different times in our lives. Enjoy this one. Before I let you go and enjoy it, a quick shout out to the sponsors of this week. Thank you to Silver Biotics. I am going to Costa Rica soon, and I will be bringing the Silver Biotics toothpaste with me and the Silver Biotics gel with me. Why? Because I think the Silver Biotics toothpaste is fantastic for keeping bad microbes at bay orally, like in your oral microbiome. And I know that the gel that they have is recommended for wounds. So if something were to happen and we don't really have a first aid kit on hand with us as we travel, we're in Costa Rica for 3 weeks and we're doing like a lot of activities and sports and stuff. I want to have this if I, scrape my knee or cut myself or anything like that. I want to have this and know that applying it to any wound is going to get rid of that bad bacteria. I will tell you that colloidal silver is on the healing map that I just talked about. Surprise, surprise. And a shout out to Bioptimizers. I'm taking their magnesium right now and their sleep supplement. I love their sleep supplement. It is so fantastic for winding down at the end of the night without relying on melatonin because it has melatonin precursors in it, which means it helps to build melatonin in the body without just giving you straight melatonin. And I really do support that type of holistic approach. So check those out. Both Silver Biotics and Bioptimizers will be linked in my show notes and on my website. I have discount codes. It's so easy. Go for it. Use them and enjoy this episode. Stay tuned for another episode next week. And if you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, please do so at Biohacking Brittany. I have a lot of fun content coming up, and you can also follow me as I travel to Costa Rica in March. Hello, and welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am so excited that you are joining this week for another interview. This week, we're doing I always do interviews, but this one's really interesting because we're going to dive into biohacking and a few actually topics I haven't talked about yet on my podcast. So you'll have to stay and listen to hear what those are about. But I am welcoming Dr. Mike. I love that people call you Dr. Mike. I think that's so cool. But Dr. Mike, Vanthielen, who is a medical director, physician, and helps tens of thousands of patients with chronic pain and mental health. And he is a biohacker. So Dr. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brittany.
Amazing. So first and foremost, how do you define biohacking?
Well, biohacking is upgrading your body, your mind, and your life. So basically, from a health point of view, it's objectively also reversing your biological age. So that's biohacking to me in a simple way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that definition. And how do you think biohacking has changed your life so far?
Well, amazingly, of course, I've always been in health and I always stay on the edge of what's happening in the world. So initially it was just about optimizing health. And then we had, the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine in the early 2000s, where we talked about bioidentical hormone therapy and all kinds of anti-aging clinics and therapies and med spas. And then in 2010, 12, 15, it was all about regenerative medicine, stem cell based therapies. And now we actually into the biohacking space where we again objectively can reverse our biological age. We can measure it. So we can implement strategies, technologies, compounds, and see how effective they are in, reversing our biological age.
Yeah, exactly. What is your favorite way to measure your biological age?
Well, there's different things, of course, but the most popular one is still telomere lengthening, right? To measure the telomeres or the length of the telomeres. And as we age, they normally shorten until the cell doesn't replicate anymore. But if we can measure the length and we implement biohacking strategies, and after 6 months or a year, the telomeres are getting longer, it's an indicator of reversing our biological age. And we actually can put a number on there too.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I've done the telomere length test. I've done a few different biological age tests. It seems to be it's becoming very popular, especially in the biohacking space and eventually mainstream. But people do different ages based off of like your gut health and your microbiome and also blood biomarkers. So there's different ones now. So I think the overall discussion about it is really interesting in terms of like this idea that you can be a different age internally than you are just days on the earth. And I love to see more and more people talking about that.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I mean, of course, gut biome is good testing for biohacking, various lab tests. We obviously got genetic testing or methylation epigenetic testing, which we can use too. We can do sleep tracking, body composition analysis. And then, of course, when we're talking about biohacking the mind, we can do EEGs and brain tests and see if we actually are using more of our brain by getting or tapping into those various brain waves.
I love that. Where do you think biohacking is going in the next 5, 10 years?
In the February issue of Time magazine 2011, they talk about singularity. And at that time, they said by, I believe, 2042, we reach that point where we become, quote unquote, where we live forever. That's not going to happen. But they basically put an age on it that they said by 2030, we could live to be 142 years old, but be healthy. Now, I'm not sure about that, but at this point, within the next 5 to 10 years, I do believe that 100 can be the new 30, meaning you could be 100 years old, but you will be able to biologically do the things a 30-year-old can do. So you could go hiking, you could go skiing, and those types of things a 30-year-old you do at age 100. I think that is realistic and that's possible with the strategies and technologies that we have available, not just to the elite, but to, the average person today.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's, expanding the health span instead of lifespan, I think is such an interesting topic and argument. And a lot of people are really turning on to that now and making healthy changes and habits and all sorts of things. I know you talk a lot about productivity, which I find very interesting as well, because productivity and longevity are not necessarily, I guess, like the things that you would do for longevity are not necessarily the most productive things, right? Like you can do different healthy habits for either. So, how did you kind of get into productivity?
Well, book number 8 just came out a few weeks ago on Amazon. It's called the IZOD method, IZOD. And I trademarked this method, and IZOD stands for in the zone on demand. And basically, if we think about being in the zone, we think about athletes, right? But whether you're an entrepreneur, an artist, a performer, or just somebody who wants to perform at their highest potential, we only really can be highly effective if we kind of get into that zone. And most of us have experienced it, during our lifetime, maybe even more than once, but usually it's by chance or accident. And it's like, oh my God, I won, or it's amazing what I delivered, or my presentation was flawless, or I crushed my sales goals. I don't even know how. So this book really teaches people not waiting for that chance, but really to master a method so you can deliver your A game and fire on all cylinders whenever you want to. And so there's basically three aspects to the method. And the first one is obviously a lot of people, they are not living their purpose of life. We know that society has pushed us in a certain direction. We got to go to school, we got to go to college, we got to work for somebody till we're 65. And then hopefully we can buy an RV and enjoy the quote unquote golden years, which usually doesn't happen, right? And then we have our parents, on the other hand, that usually pushes a certain direction. And if dad's a lawyer, he probably wants you to go to law school. If mom's a doctor, they probably want you to go to med school. And so we usually end up having credentials or doing a job that we may or may not like, but it's really not our purpose in life. So the first step, what I do with people is really making sure that their current purpose of life is their true purpose of life, because only when you have passion and fire in your stomach and you get up every day wanting to get things done, you found your true passion in life. So many times we do exercises and talk about really identifying that. And then many times we have to make a shift from what they're doing right now, a slow transition into really unleashing their superpowers, because I believe everybody has a superpower. Most people maybe have tapped into it here and there, but they didn't unleash it. And so I really encourage people find their purpose and unleash their superpowers. And that's the first part, because if you really don't do what you're really meant to be doing, you're never going to be performing at your highest potential. You have to have that passion and that fire, because then when obstacles come, they just become opportunities. And when you don't have a drive, a purpose, a goal, a dream, and a set plan and a set strategy to get there, then you're obviously going to throw your hands in the air and say, oh my God, it's not meant to be, or I can't do this, or you give up. But if you have your purpose in life, your plan, your strategy, your goals, your dreams, then those obstacles, again, just become stepping stones. And so I work on those things first. Then I really make sure that people, and that's where the productivity comes in, where people take control of their life, because most of us are being controlled, right? And we're in this putting out fire mode on a daily basis. Things get thrown at us by our employer. The kids need to go to soccer, and it just go, 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 go. And so I really teach people on how to free up valuable time and take control of their calendar, their agenda, because the more control we create in our life, the more clarity we have. Being clear about what happens tomorrow, next week, next month. And the more clear we are about things, the less stress, the less worry, the less fear, the less uncertainty. So people that have those mental illnesses, conditions, anxiety, depression, fear, worry, it's usually not a condition that needs to be treated with medications or therapies or even supplements. It's usually those people don't have a purpose in life and they're controlled by life. So we need to take control of life. And then that's step number 2. And then step number 3 is basically biohacking. And most people, are focusing on their body. And of course, the healthier we are, the better we perform in any area of life, or no matter what your goals, dreams, or profession is. But most people forget to biohack or upgrade the mind. It's very clear that the mind controls our destiny and that the mind also controls our body. And so even from personal experience, a decade ago, when I really was interested in controlling my emotions and feelings and getting more control over my mind, people said, oh, you got to meditate. But that's not easy. And it becomes frustrating if you don't get the results quickly that you want. But today, there's so many technologies available that facilitate tapping into those brain waves and really block out all distractions, whether that is with nootropics or whether that is with, binaural beats or music or breath work, or the brain tap is one of the things that I use that work very well to get quicker into a certain state or brainwave and start controlling your mind. So those are the things that are part of the ISOP method. And we teach people on how to master that method. And once you master that method, you can be in the zone on demand, meaning you can focus, you can eliminate distractions, you free up valuable time, so you can be a lot more productive. Because yes, the idea is that we live longer and that we have a longer lifespan, but we still can't buy time. We still can't borrow time. And most of us are wasting so much time on a daily basis that we really have to free it up and start scripting our life a little bit more.
I kid you not when I say that I use the mineral silver every single day. I love to sauna, just like a typical biohacker. And I love to go to the steam room. And I am very concerned about the bacteria in some of these places. I have kind of been dealing with this rash on my legs that kind of comes and goes. I've, talked about this on my podcast before. And silver actually helps so much with this because it breaks down and kills any bad bacteria, viruses, microbes, anything on the surface. I use the cream and the gel from Silver Biotics to help my skin for this very reason. But it's not just for rashes. People use silver for ear infections, taking it as a supplement, using it as a mouthwash, using it for toe fungus, anything like that, where there's like some bad microbes that need to basically be, died and killed off in order for the other ones, the good ones, to survive. So that's what silver does. I love taking it and I honestly use it every single day. Silver Biotics also makes a fantastic liquid supplement, where you can take a teaspoon to a tablespoon a day and it really boosts your immune system in this way. Make sure you check them out. They are linked on the shop page on my website at biohackingbrittany.com, and use my discount code with them, biohackingbrittany, to get a discount on all of their products, the cream, the gel. They also have a toothpaste, the supplement, all of it. That is linked on my website and in the show notes of this podcast. And my discount code is biohackingbrittany. Yeah, I really like that. I think it's really easy to waste time these days. I think and this is like such a bigger discussion, but our society in general, and I guess like Western society, is very work really hard and then go to sleep and do the same thing the next day. And when you're not working, you come home and you kind of like watch TV and go to bed type of idea. And there's actually so much time wasted that we could be using to do something better and healthier for ourselves. And it's really hard though, because a lot of people are just tired, to be honest. Like, people are just tired. Like, they don't want to come home and work on a side hustle that could one day be their dream. They don't want to spend their weekends doing that. They want to go out with their friends. They want to drink. They want to, I don't know, shop online, go on TikTok, whatever it is. And so I think wasting time is so easy now. And a lot of the time you maybe even don't even realize you're wasting it because you're just consumed by something that's giving you a bit of dopamine so you feel better.
Exactly. That's the dopamine overload. It's a typical thing in today's world, right? Because dopamine, as your listeners probably know, it's the reward hormone. If your brain squirts a little bit, feels good. So that's why we reach for sugar and energy drinks and caffeine. But at the same time, social media gives us dopamine all the time. If somebody likes your post, hearts your Instagram, or gives a comment, it's that squirt. And that's why we get addicted, because we seek more and more of it. And so the dopamine overload, though, has consequences because it takes all the 5 intelligence hormones out of balance. And so when your intelligence hormones are out of balance, you can't focus. Your attention span is short. You can't be productive. You get brain fog, and it's a vicious cycle. So you're wasting time and you're not being productive and you can't focus. And so it's a vicious cycle. So the key is to not only balance, but also optimize the 5 intelligence hormones. And when that happens, that's exactly when you're in the zone.
Yeah. I will say that it does take time to figure out your zone, like your zone of genius, being in a flow state. Like, I've experienced it quite a lot recently, but it took a long time for me to understand what it felt like and what I needed to do to experience that. And a lot of people, it's just tough. It's just a journey. Honestly, it's just a journey to figure out your purpose and figure out what you want to do with that purpose, and then how to create a flow state when you're in your purpose every single day. Like, that takes years for a lot of people to figure out and understand. And I don't really know if we can really speed that up. Like, I think, yeah, reading books and stuff helps, but it's really a personal journey at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree with you, Brittany. It's a personal journey, but I came here from Belgium. That's why I have this accent. In 1997, I was in my 20s. I saved $400, packed my backpack, put my jeans on, and came here to live the American dream. And needless to say, I didn't have a coach or a mentor. So I got knocked down many times. And my motto quickly became, I never lose, I win or learn. But today, I am a coach and a mentor. And I do feel that I can help people showing the pitfalls and giving them exercises and making them accountable on a weekly basis and finding out where they can save time and therefore, really shorten that learning curve and reaching their goals much, much faster though. So I think somebody who has been there like yourself, apparently, if you find the right coach or mentor, you certainly can be far more effective and productive.
Absolutely. So I know you've been doing some work in the natural Adderall space, which is so interesting. So I've taken Adderall like I think once or twice in university. And this was like before I was really into biohacking or understood what that even was. And I didn't really like it. I didn't really need it, to be honest. I don't even know why I took it. But anyway, I took it and it was really intense. And so I'm super curious about your all natural form of Adderall. So can you explain this?
Yes, sure. A lot of people actually like Adderall. It does work. It basically stimulates or optimizes dopamine and epinephrine. So for a lot of people, it works. But I mean, if you just look at the insert, there's many, many adverse reactions going from just an increased blood pressure to increased risk for heart disease, all the way to psychosis and seizures, etc. So is it really worth taking? So yes, there are what we call nootropics, natural alternatives out there. And there's a few good ones. The one I usually recommend today to entrepreneurs and athletes and people with ADHD, anxiety, depression is a product called Focus Plus. Focus Plus is 100% natural and safe. It doesn't give you any jittery effects. It doesn't give you withdrawal after or anything like that either. So it has 4 key ingredients. A doctor friend of mine, Dr. Emando, basically stumbled upon the first one, which is called biocitroid. Biocitroid basically is a terpene from a specific type of blood orange or citrus fruit, if you will, from the southeast rainforest in Asia. And so bio has been shown at 30 milligrams or higher to pass the blood-brain barrier within 30 minutes. So unlike many other supplements that take weeks and weeks to have an effect in your body, biocitroid works within 30 minutes. So that's good. And then what the company, Clarigen Z Health, did is they added 3 other neuroagents to it. L-tryptophan, which most people know as an amino acid that helps with memory and visualization and those types of things. Number 2, they added phenylalanine, which is another neuroagent that helps with photographic memory and those types of things. So again, it's all for memory and brain. And then the last one I think is the most interesting one is phosphatidyl. Phosphatidyl is a healthy fat that we find not only in our body, but also in our brain cells. And phosphatidyl stimulates NGF, nerve growth factor. What that means is that we actually are stimulating or optimizing the growth of new nerves and also the neurotransmitters and the release of neurotransmitters. So we are actually growing brain cells and nerves in the brain with that component. So what we have seen with this and all natural combination is that we are able to optimize all 5 intelligence hormones. Most nootropics or smart drugs like Adderall only address 1, 2, or maybe 3 of the 5. And so you always are left with an imbalance. So when you're able to optimize dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine, which are the 5 intelligence hormones, not only balance them or optimize them, that's when you actually get focused, get into the zone or helps you get into the zone. And so that's what this product has been shown to do for, as well as athletes, entrepreneurs that want to get into zone, but also people that have ADHD or students that just have a difficult time getting things done on time. So that's what it does. It's not as strong as Adderall, but people do feel that they can focus much better. It usually lasts for about 6 hours. So most people only need 1 a day. And again, it's 100% safe. I always tell people it doesn't work for everybody, just like anything else. It works very well for a lot of people. It doesn't really do much for other people. So I always suggest to get a free sample. And those free samples you can get at trysmartpill.com. Trysmartpill.com. It comes with 2 pills. If you buy the product, it's 10 of them, but it comes with 2. I usually suggest take one about half an hour before you're going to do homework or a project or work or at the gym or do a competition. And if after half an hour, you don't feel much, take that second one. And then hopefully you have an improvement for 6 hours.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I was taking a look at it before this, and I think it's great that there's alternatives coming out for Adderall. I think that's really important that people have options. But I also think it's interesting that, like, you, as you were saying, this works for some people and not for other people. Why do you think that might be the case?
Well, that's hard to say, right? It's with any modality or any supplement. And then every case is different too. What is your degree of ADHD, or or how bad are you distracted? Or what are the reasons you can't focus or distracted? And it becomes very individual. So again, as a coach, I certainly can help there a lot. Is it because you're trying to do your homework on your bed in your room? Do you have a designated area to do your products or your rooms? Do you have certain tips and strategies that will help you to focus, such as the Pomodoro technique? Are you fidgeting? Are you procrastinating? What is it? And so based on what it is that is withholding you from getting the job done in an effective manner, we implement certain tips and strategies. And so my book is loaded with tips and strategies in all those areas. And then sometimes, a supplement or a nootropic like Focus Plus really can help in the beginning. And many times when you get used to implementing the proper tips and strategies, you may not need that nootropic anymore. So it's very individual. But if you don't implement tips and strategies to really get a better work environment, or to realize why you can't focus or are distracted and do something about it, just the supplement by itself may have limited effects. However, if you combine that supplement or nootropic with implementing the right strategies for you to increase focus and productivity, then obviously you're going to be much more successful.
After the end of year work obligations and holiday family fun, it's easy to start the new year stressed, worn out, and lacking motivation. And honestly, I actually really do feel that right now, which is definitely not the way you want to start the new year. So if you're feeling like you need a holiday from the holidays, oh my gosh, again, I feel that. I have the perfect solution for you. Do yourself a favor and start taking Magnesium Breakthrough every night before you go to bed. Why? Because stress depletes your magnesium levels, and magnesium is critical for getting deep and restorative sleep. The reason Magnesium Breakthrough is so effective is because it's the only organic full spectrum magnesium supplement that includes 7 unique forms of magnesium, all in each pill. That's wild. Yes, you heard me right. Most magnesium supplements fail because they are synthetic and only contain 1 or 2 forms of magnesium, which is simply not enough. When you get all 7 critical forms of magnesium, that's when the magic happens. Pretty much every function in your body gets upgraded, from your sleep to your brain, from stress to pain and inflammation. Even better, by making Magnesium Breakthrough part of your daily routine, you'll be fully rested, recharged, and ready to crush all your New Year's resolutions. For an exclusive offer for my listeners, you can go to magbreakthrough.com/biohackingbrittany. In addition to the 10% discount you get by using my discount code, which is biohackingbrittany, you will unlock a special gift with purchase for a very limited time only. So go right now. That is magbreakthrough.com/biohackingbrittany now and get your gift. That is linked in my show notes, and use the discount code biohackingbrittany and for 10% off and also a special gift, which we all love, especially in the new year. So this is my favorite magnesium. I take it every single night, and I probably will always take it because the benefits are just so fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. I like that you said that because a lot of people a lot of people like to just think that a certain supplement or a pill or anything like that is this quick fix and fix all for everything, and it's important to understand that a lot of the time these things work much better when we are living the lifestyle that goes with them. And that's exactly like you said, right? Like sleeping well, exercising well, managing stress, eating properly, and doing these like foundational things to really elevate our health. And then we can take something like this to kind of boost us and optimize our health to the next level. And I think that's kind of where biohacking comes in specifically. Yeah.
You're 100% correct. Actually, when people come to me for 3 reasons: to obviously be healthier, or they are an entrepreneur and they want to perform better or crush their sales goals or have a better team, or it's something personal in their personal life they want to be better at. But when it comes to their health, which is the majority of my clients, I actually have 3 phases. And it's exactly what you said. Phase number 1, and it's unfortunately where most people fall, is we need to regain control of your health, because most people have pain or a medical diagnosis or a medical condition. So we need to regain control of that health. We need to get rid of that pain and those medical diagnoses and get back to quote unquote normal. I don't like that word normal, but it's easy for people to understand. We got to go from negative back to normal. And unfortunately, that's what we have to start with most people. Then step number two, we need to optimize your health. So now we got to include lifestyle modifications, upgrade your diet and all kinds of other things to be fit, vital, and strong again. Because you mentioned earlier, oh, people come home, they're tired. Well, when you're in optimal health, you're not tired, you know? When you come home, there's other things to do. So when you're fit, vital, and strong, you don't come home tired. You do have the energy, and you need to be in control of your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. And that's optimal health. And only when you're in optimal health can you maximize the benefits of biohacking strategies and technologies. That's correct.
Yes, exactly. I know you also talk about chronic pain with patients. Is that, what do you think the root cause for that is? Like what do you typically see with your patients that causes chronic pain?
Yeah, well, obviously, many times, often it's just the systemic inflammation, right? So our diet and our unhealthy lifestyle causes systemic inflammation. I believe that the cause of all disease is what I call toxemia, which means toxins in the blood. But in a little bit more detail, toxemia basically means that as part of living, as part of our metabolism, our body breaks things down, and those are waste products or toxins. But in a healthy body, no harm is done because our body eliminates those toxins from our body, the kidneys, the skin, the bladder, intestines, etc. Right? So no harm is done. But what if on a daily basis we are exposed to or ingest far more toxins than the body possibly can eliminate? Then we have an accumulation of toxins in our blood and our body, and that's what we call toxemia. And toxemia causes two things. Number one, free radical damage, because these toxins are going to steal an electron from a healthy atom. And that healthy atom then becomes unstable, which we call a free radical, which can cause damage on a cellular level. And number two, systemic inflammation. And systemic inflammation basically is a fancy word for our body needs to continuously put out fires. And so it's in a state of emergency. And even conventional medicine today now agrees that over 90% of all disease is the direct result of systemic inflammation. Even the American Heart Association now recognizes heart disease directly correlated to systemic inflammation and no longer the result of, for example, high cholesterol, which always has been a big hoax. And so toxemia causes free radical damage, systemic inflammation, the cause of all disease. So if we can get systemic inflammation under control, we can avoid any and all disease, including obesity. And so, again, it's easy because luckily we can measure that objectively. You can do a simple blood test and measure your CRP, C-reactive protein. And then we implement or upgrade our diets and implement some lifestyle modifications. And we can measure X amount of months later our blood CRP again. And so if your CRP levels drastically drop, that means your systemic inflammation drops. That means you can be confident that you're not going to be plagued with any disease or fatigue or diabetes or any autoimmune disease or even obesity. So that's usually the number one cause of pain. The number two cause could be obviously more of a structural nature. If somebody has a job for 40, 50 years and it's a very unilateral job, there can be asymmetries, there can be faulty posture. So many times we need a good physical therapist or chiropractor to help people with a structural imbalance, and then corrective exercises need to be prescribed. But those I see of the two main causes of chronic pain.
Yeah, I like that. I like that you address it from a cellular standpoint in terms of like inflammation, but then it's also from a physical standpoint as well, where it could be from sitting at your desk all day and not exercising and that type of thing. And I think the approach of looking at both, I think is probably the most effective. And through eating, anti-inflammatory foods or anti-inflammatory supplements, and also moving the body, stretching, yoga, that type of thing. But it's still a lifestyle thing, right? Like just because you take a turmeric supplement one day, that doesn't mean it's going to get rid of your inflammation. It has to like compound over time, and then it can help with chronic pain. At least like that's been my own personal experience, but I'm sure that's kind of what you see as well.
Yeah, no, and that's right. And, if we think about this toxemia again with the inflammation, so if there's only one cause of disease, there's only one solution. And the solution then is to keep toxemia in check. So how do we do that? Number one, we need to reduce or limit the exposure or intake of toxins. So that means your beverages and your man-made foods, obviously, but also, for example, electromagnetic frequencies and radiation and environmental toxins and chlorine gases from your shower and the water that you drink and the air that you breathe in, right? So we need to do whatever we can to reduce the exposure to toxins and simultaneously increase the nutrients that fight free radical damage and systemic inflammation. And that's the way we can keep the toxemia in check. And it's the only way to prevent any and all disease.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's definitely important to keep in mind. So if anyone's listening who is new to biohacking and sounds like you've been biohacking for a long time, where would you recommend that they start?
Start or where they can find me?
Both.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you do need, if you're not in a health space yourself, you do need a coach or a mentor in a way where they can assess where you are. Because like you said it yourself, you can't just start taking these biohacking supplements and think you're going to unleash your superpowers and be Superman tomorrow. So where are you? And based on where you are, there's certain things we have to put in place, right? Whether that's therapies or modalities or strategies, and check off the boxes. And then once we get to a next level, then we got to also change our strategies. And so I have 3 levels until we get to the biohacking level and we can reverse our biological age and become what we call superhuman. And today it's really possible from a physical perspective, but also mental perspective. And so I have different things available that I offer my clients. The best way to reach me is just go to my website, biohackingunlimited.com. From there, you can download my app. I have an app that you can download on your smart devices. It's called Biohacking Unlimited. Surprise, surprise. But you can get the QR code from my homepage also. The first month is free, and then it's a very low fee every month. And you get information on a daily basis that will be beneficial. On my website, too, you will find a 20-minute free Zoom call with me personally. If you click on it, you can schedule it right there on my calendar. And what we do there is kind of identify where you are, what your goals are, and kind of see where you need to start and what we can do for you. On top of that, we have about 3 levels of mentorship programs. You can check them out on our website, and hopefully one of them fits your needs and your goals. And we also do VIP retreats where we go. The next one is the Labor Day weekend. So it's still like 6-7 months away, where we go away for 5-6 days into the jungle. And we kind of do a transformational retreat jumpstart for you to change your life. So all on the website, biohackingunlimited.com.
I love that. I love that that's your website and that's what you promote. As a biohacker, it's just awesome to see more and more people talk about biohacking and it just become a household term, which is ideally what we want. So that's great. I will definitely connect everyone with you and put those links in the show notes so people can find you easily. And thank you so much for coming on this podcast. This was very informative.
You're welcome. Thanks, Brittany. And good luck. And thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. If you're interested in finding the show notes or the sponsors for this episode, you can do so on my website, which is biohackingbrittany.com. Remember to follow me on Instagram where I'm most active. My handle is @biohackingbrittany. And if you're interested in working together and you want to email me directly, you can do that. My email is info@biohackingbrittany.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and having you tune in next week.